And the Confederation of African Football has approved the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium, Uyo, for the Super Eagles' next home game in the 2023 African Cup of Nations qualifiers. The Super Eagles played their two previous home qualifying matches against Sierra Leone and Guinea-Bissau at the Moshood Abiola Stadium, Abuja, which was not among the listed stadiums approved by CAF. The Super Eagles' next game in the qualifiers is an away clash against the Leon Stars of Sierra Leone on June 18. And Nigeria will host Sao Tome and Principe in the final match of the qualifiers in September. The Eagles top Group A with 9 points and need a point from their next game against Sierra Leone to secure a place in Cote d'Ivoire. Now joining me on the show today to discuss more is former Super Eagles and Brentford defender Sam Sodje. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Well, the recent decision to move the Super Eagles game from Abuja to Uyo again brings to the fore the issue of lack of quality pitches in Nigeria. How would you say this has impacted performances of national teams and the growth of the game in general?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Pitches are very important when it comes to football. It's unfortunate because I played in Abuja before. The pitch used to be very good, but that's what happens when you don't, look after your pitch. And the CAF must have seen that the pitch is not that good. But when it comes to football, pitch is very important, and I think that's why they've not chosen that pitch. And that's what we have to invest in Nigeria, because that's part of why the national team doesn't play well, especially at home.
Yeah, talking about doing well, especially at home, some people have said, yes, there's a lot of excuses about the pitch and all. What other factor would you think is limiting the progress of national teams in Nigeria?
Oh, no, it's a lot, but the pitch is not an excuse. I've been there. I know what it's like to play on a bad pitch. It's not an excuse. There's so many factors why they're not doing well. I know the pitch is not just or the factor, but the pitch is a big factor why we don't get good football, especially when we play at home. There's technical side of the game that has not been going well. There's a lot that is going on that is not right, and that's why we're not really performing. And until we get that right, we'll always struggle.
Well, so many have asserted that the technical aspect of the Super Eagles, especially, I will use the Super Eagles as an example. Some say they are not getting the right calls, the right direction by the technical crew, be it the TA and also the coach himself. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely, from my experience, I think we've always got it wrong. Technically, we've struggled for the last 8 years. We've really struggled on the pitch. Maybe we've progressed a little bit when it comes to welfare of the players and how they look after them when they come. But technically on the pitch, we've really struggled. And I'm talking from a point of view where I know what I'm talking about. These players don't get coached when they come over. They don't tell them what to do, because I've played in some big clubs myself. They will tell you, no matter how big you are as a player, they will tell you exactly how they want you to play. And I think we don't have that in Nigeria. We don't have a system where when you come into the national team, this is how we play. And that's why you see players coming over here and making the same mistake, because these players are good players. You can't see top players playing for top clubs in Europe and come over here and not perform. It's just because they're not told exactly what to do.
And now, from your own personal point of view, how will you describe the performance of the Super Eagles? How will you rate the performance of the Super Eagles lately?
I don't sound always critical about always criticizing the team, but to be honest with you, we've not really done well so far, because from where we're coming from as a country, with the talent that we have, with the players that we have around the world, we should be better positioned. But I've not really seen that for a couple of years now. We've been struggling on the pitch, so it's not been good. But hopefully, going forward, we'll get it right one day, because we've got the talent to do that.
We're still talking about the players. Several Super Eagles players are in relegation battles in England and Italy. Well, I know as a player you might never have been in relegation battle, but what impact does this have on players?
I've never been in that position before, but when you see Nigerian players, it's not just because they're playing for bad teams. These are big teams. It's just unfortunate that the Nigerian players are signed for these teams. Normally, we'll be happy for a player to sign for Leicester or to sign for Nottingham Forest. I've played in Nottingham, the very big club. I saw Nottingham play against Brentford the other day. These are good teams, these are big teams, but it's just unfortunate that we have Nigerian players playing there. And once you're playing, you're fighting relegation, it's always tough. But these are footballers, they know what to do, they always come strong. But it's so bad that we have a lot of Nigerian players struggling in the bottom of the league, in the Premier League. But hopefully some of them can stay up, but it's looking really bad. Good luck to them.
Good luck to them, really. I think they will need a lot of luck towards the end as they play the remaining 2-3 matches in their different leagues. But still looking at these players that are in a relegation battle, a lot of them make a core of the Super Eagles starting 11. We have the likes of Alex. It will be, there's the likes of two already relegated, the likes of Ono Achu and Ariba already relegated, and there's still more who could get relegated. Should more players get relegated from the starting, rather from the top league, how would this affect the Super Eagles itself? Because there's a mentality that comes with you getting relegated.
No, football, sport is all to do with confidence. Yeah, they might have low confidence, but when you come to national teams, it's a different ball game. I don't think it will affect them. I think players always know the goal. When you're fighting relegation, you struggle. But the minute you leave your club side and you come to the national team, it's a different ball game. I think it won't affect them playing for Nigeria, but it always does affect you after the season. After 1 week, 2 weeks, you're back to yourself because they're footballers. And yeah, I'm not sure it affects them when they come to play for the national team, especially when things are being done properly in the national team.
The last qualifier game they played against Guinea was in Guinea, and before that they had played at the Abuja National Stadium. A lot of issues, a lot of complaints about the play and everything, and now in June they will be playing another AFCON qualifiers. What are your thoughts on the Eagles? How well do you think they can line up against Sierra Leone?
We're still getting it wrong when it comes to technical know how to do it. We're still really getting it wrong, and then it's saddening to just know that we're not getting it right by now, because we've got so many professionals out there that can really advise the technical side of how to really coach these players. We need to know exactly what we're doing. I think we go into games, typical Nigerians, oh, God will help us. That doesn't work. You need to really know exactly how to play, how you're going to win the game, exactly what Pep, for example, is doing. You need coaches that will tell the players exactly how to win the game. So if we don't do that, we're always going to struggle. We're always going to struggle. We need a defensive coach. We need someone that will really be outspoken and tell the players exactly. As a player, when the manager walks into the dressing room, you know exactly what he's about. And I think, I spoke to this manager, I think he knows his game, but I don't think he's getting it right with the national team at the moment.
And if you were to give an advice, you are not a coach, but if you were to give an advice from your own standpoint of a player who's played against a top Nigerian team, I know in 2005 the Nigerian squad was a lot different from what we can see now. What will you say?
No, it's not fair for me to compare the teams because it's different generation. Teams are done differently now. In our time, I think ability-wise, we're very, very good. But these days now, you see players that are tailored to do a job, and they're more fitter, they're younger. It's not fair for me to compare both my time or the players now, but they're very good players. These players are very good players. To go to Europe and play week in, week out, you must be good. So we have to look at ourselves in Nigeria and see what we're getting wrong and try and get that fixed and make them perform when they come and play for Nigeria.
I think we'll go to you a bit. Your first invite to the national team was in 2005 in a friendly against Romania. How would you describe your experience in the national team, and do you have any regrets?
No, I've got no regret, first of all. As a young man, even though I was born in London, I grew up in Nigeria. I grew up in a place called Warri. I'm a local lad. I might sound English, but I was born in London, but I stayed in Nigeria, so I always wanted to play for Nigeria. So when I got the call up to play, at that time I had my injury, so playing for Nigeria just one time was my dream. I ended up playing a couple of times, and I think I did well. The only little regret I'll probably say the regret is the fans didn't really see me play for the national team properly, enough games, and that was the only regret. But playing for the country is a dream come true, and I did that because I was a big fan of the Okochas, my brother Ife, Kanu. So when I had the chance to play, it was a good dream come true.
Well, we'll still talk about that. For you as a player who was able to get PFA funding and all of that to further, how would you describe that and relate it to welfare of Nigerian players? How could Nigerian players also have this kind of welfare?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and you know that's why I come back home sometimes. It's sad. I feel bad for players in this country because I'm not saying the PF in the UK is everything, but they do raw, you know, to make sure life after football is worth living, because it's tough. It's a tough life after football, regardless of how much you earn in the game. Every day you walk on that pitch might be your last day, so you need to know that you got something with life after sport. And I'm lucky enough to have played in England. You know, I'm a member of the PFA, and I've benefited from the education part of the PFA. And I really want the country, you know, Nigeria, NFF, the Players Union over here to look into it. It's not just about salary and you go and take close to pay salary. No, it's more than that. There's so much you can do to help players with life after sport.
And could you expatiate on that? Talk to us about some of the things that could actually earn players loyalty, because so many say Nigerian players come to Nigeria and are not loyal. They do not want to put all their all. What could actually pique the interest of these players to ensure that, okay, I want to do more for my country?
Yeah, the biggest problem we have in Nigeria, football doesn't generate money. You know, it doesn't generate funds, so it's always hard to get the players to pay into insurance. These are things I've tried to do in this country before. It's always going to be hard to get players to pay into a pension scheme to be able to get a pension or injury fund. You know, the PFA has got lots of buckets of where you got education parts, you got you know, injury part where if you get injured, they look after you. So yeah, if you come and play for Nigeria and you get injured playing for Nigeria, you know, it's a very bad experience because you will not get the support that you need to get the support. But I think it can be done. If you get someone that really knows about the game, that have been there before, will help these players. And education is key. I'm not talking about academic. You might be capital or something, but they'll support you. You know, the PFA has so many partners that they always send players to. That's what we need to do in Nigeria, and it's very possible. If we really want to do it, we will do it.
Okay, now we're still talking about Nigeria because at some point, especially when I was growing up, you see the golden eaglet, the flying eaglets doing well for Nigeria. At some point, it became almost Nigeria's trophy for the Under-17 World Cup. Now the golden eaglets have just failed to make it to the World Cup. What do you think went wrong for this team in Algeria? Is Africa moving ahead of Nigeria, or Nigeria is just not catching up with the rest of Africa?
It's sad. It's very sad because it's easy to see the problem. Them days are gone where just ability will take you through. You need to plan. You need to get a development plan. We always imagine when we have like a Under-17 tournament, then we go and screen, big screening of 50 players to come to camp. That's not how you do things. How you do things is you know exactly who the next right back will be. Sorry, you know exactly who the left back will be. You know the next star coming through when you get data of players, of youth players, and that's what we're struggling about. On the 20, 23s, on the 17, we're always going to struggle because it's always emergency. Screening, no, you get these players even before time. 4 years, 5 years before, you know he will grow up to play for Under-17, and by then you will know he's prepared, he's ready, and that's why we don't do well now. In them days, we had talent, we had ability, and we're just skating through. That doesn't happen anymore. Everybody has caught up with Nigeria, so we need to do the best for these players. And what I mean the best is look after them, having the data of players that is going to become Under-17, Under-20s, Under-23s. If you don't do that, you're going to struggle. And I think that's why Nigerians struggle. I don't understand that I'm always criticizing Nigeria, but it's the fact. If we don't try and catch up with what is happening in the world, with all our talent that we have, we're going to struggle.
We're still thinking about struggling, like you said. Recently, Folarin Balogun, who so many expected to pick sides with Nigeria, chose the United States of America ahead of the country. And so many complain about it. But what is your take on players of Nigerian descent dumping Nigeria for other countries?
Yeah, dumping is a harsh word. I don't think I'll use that word dump, but I will explain to you. I was born in London myself, but I grew up in Nigeria. So growing up was, my heroes, who I wanted to be like was the Okochas and the Ketches, the Okechukwu. These players you're talking about, some of them have never been to Nigeria. I've got a nephew who plays for Man City at the moment. It's 17. He's never been to Nigeria, though he's got uncles who tells him about how great to play for Nigeria is. But these players you're talking about now, they didn't dump Nigeria. They don't even know Nigeria. I have to give credit to the NFF a little bit now because they've made Nigerian national team fun and interesting and sellable. So you get a lot of players that wants to come and play. But these players don't know the country. They've never been here before. So it's not like they're dumping Nigeria. They're playing for what they know. But to get these players to understand how good to play for Nigeria is, you need to sell Nigeria to them. We'll never beg anyone, but I'm just saying that's the reason they option to play for their best country and the main reason, the insurance is a very important thing. So I won't use the word dump. I think these players don't know Nigeria that much until they know Nigeria, and now it's better because we've got so many foreign players coming to play, and it's well known in the Super Eagles. So yeah, kudos to the NFA for doing that to make the national team sellable.
Still ask you about it because we're still talking about grassroots football. How can we better convert our football talents to become internationals where we do not really need to rely on foreign base? And even if we are to rely on them, you know that domestic players are still top-notch.
We shouldn't rely on a foreign base. The local, if your local league is not doing well, don't expect to do well, internationally. There's no way. It's unfair for you to be doing well internationally and you're not helping the local players. The main talent is in this country. But I've been in this country for a couple of years now, working with Delta State. I've seen so much talent, but the facilities that they play on is so bad. You cannot even pick a good player from a game because the pitches are so bad. The dressing room, the buses, they're not properly looked after. So it's hard to even pick talent. But if you want to get this thing done, you have to invest in your local league and make sure these players are very important because they're the main players, they're the main actors in this game that we are all in love with. So yeah, with under 17, I said before, you have to get a database where you get these players knowing that the talent is going to come through in 3 years' time, 4 years' time. This emergency screening is not right. I know this for a fact because I grew up in London, I'm based in London. I know how it works in London. They already know who the next right back of the national team will be. We have to get that here in Nigeria with the grassroots, the facility that we have in Delta State. That's what you need to get players to excel.
I will not leave you without asking you this question. One of the teams you played against, that's Brentford, is currently a team that usually gives Manchester City a run for their money. How would you compare this current Brentford squad and the squad you played in?
Yeah, I played there a couple of years. It's my club. They gave me the chance to be professional in the UK. So I'm very close to them. I'm kind of an ambassador for Brentford. I always go and watch a game. I saw the game against Man City as well. It's a different club now. They've got a little bit of money. But speaking to the directors of the club, they always say they do things right. They don't take unnecessary risks. They buy the right players, and the youth system is very good. So they look into youth players coming through. But the club is properly run, and when you run a club properly, you always benefit from the gain. So that's what is happening at Brentford. To be in Premier League for 3 years in a row is a huge achievement. So yeah, proud of them. Hopefully they stay in the Premier League for a long time. But they always give every club problem because of the way they play. So I'm always there watching games, and I watch some couple of our players, Awuniyi and them lot. So proud that Brentford is doing well, and hopefully stay in the league for much longer.
Many are tied to the Premier League because of what they can give and the entertainment value they have. Now, coming to Nigeria, is there a way politics can be divorced from sports, or government involvement can be reduced from football or sports in general to ensure the growth of the game like we see in foreign countries?
To be fair, I have to, mind what I say, but I've been in the, let me say government and football in Nigeria. I think the government is not doing too bad. You'll be shocked if you know how much the government invests in football. Things have to be done properly. And when things are done properly, I'm talking from my experience from Delta State, I know how much the governor, the current governor, Mr. Kowa has put into sport, football. It is enough. We need people, the sport administrators, to do the thing properly. If you get people doing it properly, I don't think we're complaining. I think Delta State is an example of how sports should be run. And that's just what we're talking about. We talk about government. Yes, government shouldn't be running sport, but what we're saying now, they're running sport. I don't think they're doing bad. I think the sport administrators in Nigeria has to buckle up and do things properly.
And still on the Delta FA, what would you say about your time in the Delta FA? Because I know Delta FA is about football, but in general, Delta sports is thriving, be it from athletics to swimming, to what have you. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, you have to be proud. If you're Delta, you have to be proud because we've got a state who's a bunch of lots of sport people coming from Delta State, and we've got a governor, our current governor at the moment, who loves sport, who really invested in sport. I had the opportunity to meet him, and he bought into my idea and gave me an essay to the governor, so I'm proud. And we've got a governor coming in now who I know so well as well, who's going to be very good as well in sport. We've won the festival 8 times in a row. That's not a fluke. We've got the sport commissioner at the moment who's done so well as well. So sport in Delta State is a business, it's a proper business, and it's not a play. So we take it serious. The welfare as well, to athletes, to footballers, is spot on. So I think other states should look at what Delta State is doing, and the country will be better.
Yeah, definitely talking about sports business is something Nigeria is yet to key into. And if they do, like you said rightly, the way Delta has done, I think a lot will be better for the country. But I will not leave you without asking. I know so many Nigerians will wanted to know, how is FS Sodje? How is Akpo Sodje? Talk to us about what is going on with them at the moment.
Oh, no, they're cool, they're good. They're based in the UK and they're doing well. I'm more in Nigeria myself. I think we call it Umuto, so I'm always in Nigeria. So I love the country. I just came back from London yesterday, and I'm here. But they're doing well. They're doing really well. We're doing all good, and health-wise, good.
Thank you so very much, Sam Sodje, for joining us on the show. Hope to see you some other time. And this is it from Global Sports Reports here on Arise News, and we call it an end and say, stay with us tomorrow. Goodbye.